Why I can speak 3 languages. Part 2, English, and how you can learn it too. Hello, this is Rachel, and this is part 2 of the 3 languages that I speak. For this part, I have to give you a timeline. Ocean, French trip, Twilight and the book world, IELTS, and USA. I remember when I was a kid, there was this Japanese series named Ocean, made in 1983. It was the story of a girl growing up in Japan, a very sad but inspirational series. I learned a lot from it, but there was this part that I can never forget, and it's how Ocean learned the English language. The part that I remember was either her house or her workplace, I'm not sure, but some English-speaking guest came in and started to talk, but unfortunately nobody was able to answer them, so they left. After this encounter, Ocean went and sought out an English teacher and asked him to teach her the language to understand foreigners. He taught her the alphabet and some basic words, then gave her a book of 600 pages and told her to memorize it. As nothing is very hard for the Japanese people, she actually started to memorize the book. After 6 months, she went back to the teacher and began reciting the book from heart. But then she started to mumble at page 300 and got grounded by the teacher. He told her to leave and come back when she had memorized the whole book. Ocean felt super sad and left the place with tears. She gave up on studying and let go of her book. But after some time, those guests returned, and Ocean was hearing them from one of the rooms. Surprisingly, she could actually understand them. Quickly, she ran toward the entrance, and after a little bit of uncertainty, she started talking to them. Then she took a moment to gather herself, faced others, and started to explain what the guests were saying. This reading book thing stayed with me for a long time, and I kinda had the same experience. French trip. So when did I learn the English language? When I was 15? When I was 17? Oh no, I was 21. I was old, I was very old in my mind, at least to learn a language. I would watch every TV show, every movie, either in French dub or French sub. And my sister was really sick of me and told me stop being lazy, at least watch Friends in English. She switched from French to English when she was 16, and I was 21. She was furious at me. But I thought, I don't need the English language. I mean, why would I go there? What is there for me? Short answer, every freaking thing. At that time, I got to go on a short trip to France, and it was a huge deal for my life. I got better at speaking French, but I realized my English is much worse than I thought, or maybe not existing. I had to think for 5 minutes just to say, "Can I have a pillow?" in the airplane. I was walking on a beautiful street in France when I noticed an ad on billboard. It was the Twilight movie, but because I was not a movie person, I didn't recognize the actors. When I got back home, I saw my sister watching the billboard thing on TV. So I asked her, "Is this a movie?" She said, "Yeah, and one you probably would like," which I did very much, but then my sister said something else that changed my life and made me a geek. She said, "You know, it's a book series. You know, they're creating the next movie." What? No, I didn't. I started searching on the web and I saw that she was right. There were 3 more books to read and I was super excited to read them. So I searched and searched for a Persian or a French version until I finally found a website that would translate each chapter weekly. Side note, the only languages that I know at that time were French and Persian. The good news was the second book was already translated and they were in the middle of the 3rd book. So I read what was available and waited weekly for the next chapter. But you know how it is, a book or a series that you are attracted to, it's never enough and you need the next chapter or episode now. So because of that, I got the English book as well. Read it, would understand like 20% of it, waited for the Persian version, read it, get satisfied, but then again, I was becoming an addict and I needed the next chapter now. I was in this hard situation until I reached the last book. The fan of Twilight Saga knows that the last book is everything we are waiting for. So again, I got the English book and started reading it before the translation would come. I was so eager to know what will happen to the main characters that I realized if I understood the conversation and who kissed whom and who killed whom, I might understand almost the whole story. So I started to test myself and see how much I did understand. And each chapter I got better at getting the story. After a while, I started to see the mistakes of the translator. And if you ever get in that stage, it means you are reaching the profession level. I stopped reading the translated version after chapter 7. I was also not using a dictionary. Instead, I will pay attention to repeated words and get their meaning within the text. Basically, I learned the language like Oshin did. And like her, I was surprised when I first talked English on the phone. After finishing the book series, since I got used to reading books, I started looking for popular books and I found out about Shelfari on Amazon. It's not around anymore, but it's what got me to read more than 300 books. I was enjoying my reading journey on a small screen, and after almost 20 books, I started to have blurry vision. When I went to the eye doctor, he examined me and didn't really see any problem, but still he started to prescribe a pair of glasses. But right before giving it to me, he curiously asked, "Do you work with your phone a lot?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you do?" I said, "I read books." He paused for a moment and then said, "Have you heard of audiobooks?" So because I was losing my eyes, I looked for audiobooks and got sucked into this world. At first, it was challenging and surprisingly slow for me, but then I found the Make It Speak Faster button, and I was finishing a book in less than 2 days. At the same time, I switched the series Friends from French to English, because reading is different from listening and listening is different from watching a movie. And since I knew the story from before, understanding it wasn't difficult, and I actually started to get Chandler's jokes. So with the help of books and then audiobooks, my English language became my third native-like language. For my IELTS exam, since my general language was good now, I only practiced the test for 2 months. When I got 7 on my first try, everybody, even me, was astonished at this accomplishment. So my advice to learn a language is, be obsessed about one thing, find the translation of that thing in your language, like I did with Twilight and Friends, then switch it to English and wait for the magic to happen. Language is not understanding words, but it's a package. It's humor, story, and culture. You might say, what if it doesn't work for me? And my answer is, stop being a lazy ass and try. You will surprise yourself. One of my sweet memories was when I got to New Jersey, I was invited to a pool party on my first day. I was in the pool and talking with others when an American guy asked me, "How long have you been here? You speak well." I looked at him and said, "I just landed this morning." Dear sister, thanks to you, I can speak and understand the English language. Whatever has happened since then, you deserve half of the credit. Bisous.